Hi, my name's Oliver, aged 24, and you're watching How to Draw Really Good. And today I'm going to be drawing one of my favourite supervillains from the Star Wars 3D films, Spock. Now before we can start to draw Spock, we need to change the background colour from a 3D white to a dark 3D grey to get the right kind of sinister vibe for Spock's character. Wonderful. Now we can start to draw him. So the first thing you're going to want to do is do a capital letter U upside down, and that will form the top half of his head. Next we need to do some 3D eyes, so as always you want to do one slightly bigger and one slightly smaller and squashed for a 3D effect. Now if you're the kind of person that pays a lot of attention to detail, like me, you'll have noticed that Spock's helmet actually looks a lot like Count Dracula's hairline. So to capture that in true 3D on your drawing, you need to do a capital letter M that kind of points down in between the middle of the eyes. Now we're going to add some ears, and as you know, Spock's ears look a lot like daggers, so you want to use the house elf earring technique that you would use on characters such as Dobby the house elf from Harry Potter. Now we're going to add a mouth, and this gets a little bit complicated because the helmet is slightly in the way, but what you've got to do is pretend the helmet isn't there, but also don't draw over the lines. And you want to do a C to the side mouth with detailed top teeth and less detailed bottom teeth. Fantastic! Now we're just going to use a 3D white to colour in the eyeballs and the teeth. I'm also going to take a 3D helmet grey for the helmet, a 3D skin colour for the ears, and a 3D darker than the skin colour for the inside the head look inside the mouth. Fantastic! Now here's a tricky part, we need to draw the collar of Spock's costume. Now there are two ways to imagine this. You can either imagine that it was a capital 3D letter V that has been squashed in a vertical direction, or a capital letter V that has been elongated in the horizontal direction. Now this is where things get really tricky. You actually have to draw all of Spock's body, his arms, legs, hands and feet, all in one pen movement, because all his clothes are skin tight. So the tricky part is that while you're imagining Spock in a skin-tight costume, you also have to imagine the hand gesture that is famous for Spock. Basically, it's just like one thumb stuck out in one direction, and then the three middle fingers together, and then the little finger sticking out in the other direction. Now, personally, I've watched the Star Wars films 100 million times, and I have no idea what it's supposed to mean. But if I was to have a guess, I guess it kind of looks a little bit like a spaceship. Cool, so once you've got the perfect body shape, like mine, you want to use the body splitting technique to add a belt onto the drawing. And basically to do that you just want to do two perpendicular lines across Spock's waist. I'm going to colour that in a 3D belt grey, and then I'm going to colour the trousers in a 3D dark grey trouser colour. Now the best way to partition the hands from the arms is to draw a line to split them off, and that way we can colour them in different 3D colours. Obviously you want to use a 3D skin colour for the hands, and then you want to use a 3D light blue jumper colour for the jumper. The jumper still looks pretty basic, but we can actually make it look a lot more texturized and complicated by adding some accessories. And to do that, we're just going to use the accessorizing technique. And for this, you just want to draw a 3D triangle shape onto his chest and colour it in a 3D yellow. As you can see, just by drawing a simple 3D shape, we've added the famous Spock logo to the jumper. Fantastic! Now you're probably looking at this thinking, yeah, that does look identical to Spock, but I'm not really getting that evil supervillain vibe, and that's because there are two techniques left to do. The first one is to do the eyebrowing technique, and for that you want to do a capital letter V across the top of his eyes, and you need to make sure that they join in the middle because Spock has got a monobrow. As you can see, just by that one simple 3D shape, I've completely changed the character of the drawing and the personality of Spock. And now for an exclusive technique that I don't think I've ever taught before, we're actually going to draw a nose on Spock using the nosing technique. Now sometimes people ask me, Oliver, why don't you ever draw noses on your characters? And the answer is, sometimes less is more. Keep that in mind. But obviously with Spock, more is more, so we need to add that nose. And for that you just want to do a little letter V underneath the eyes. You might have noticed that we've drawn quite a lot of V's on this drawing, and that's because as a super villain, which has a V in it coincidentally, V's are quite a pointy letter, which helps establish a little bit of trait and personality in the drawing. Now obviously, since Spock is from Star Wars, we need to draw a famous Star Wars light stick. And for that you just want to do a rectangle shape for the handle, and then a snakish shape for the light beam. And then we can just colour that in using a 3D handle dark grey and a 3D light beam blue for the light beam. Actually, I'm going to add a 4D glow to the light stick, but first of all I need to rotate it slightly so that it gives a 3D angle to the way he's holding it. Now be careful, this might make you jump. I'm going to add a 4D glow to the light stick and it will jump right out of the screen, but don't worry, it won't hit you in the face because it's only a drawing. Whoa, I even scared myself then. Actually, we can make this drawing even more intense by adding a 5D motion blur behind the entire body of Spock. Whoa, look at that. It really looks like Spock is in the room with me, bandishing his light stick around, and he means serious business. Wow. I feel like I'm in the film. Fantastic, that's finished. I'm just going to add my name and age as this is a professional piece of work. Awesome. Ooh, and one more thing you could do is you could just add a quick speech bubble and write in there Spock on this, which is obviously Spock's famous quote. Perfect. Now we're just going to have a quick look at how my previous student Matt got along with this tutorial. So let's have a look at what he drew. Oh my god, what is that? It kind of looks like Shrek's son, but with a human face. That is disgusting. Also, he's got Spock's light stick the wrong colour, and instead of blue he's done it red, which is obviously the colour of the good guys. Gosh, Matt. And he's got the quote wrong, and instead of writing Spock on this, he's written Spork on this. Obviously a spork is a cross between a fork and a spoon. It's nothing to do with Spock. Oh, I've just noticed something else. Instead of doing the famous Spock helmet, he's actually drawn a special needs helmet. Matt. I'm gonna leave it there. Hopefully next time, Matt will learn how to draw really good. Thank you. You can get it on a t-shirt. Yeah. Drawing really good in 3D. George Lucas would be mad jealous. Yeah, the end.